toxic men are not the like street dudes, the hood dudes. It don't be them. It be them dudes with them 9 to 5s, them corporate jobs, or just them dudes with career. It be them. Them be the most toxic ones because it's like they're kind of deceiving because you would think because of their position in life that they like would be on the same space, like trying to start a family. They got their career, trying to start a family. But no, them be the bachelors. Like, them be the ones who be wanting to play around because I guess they know that they in a position to have options. Them be the worst ones. The worst ones.
I think they seem like the worst ones because, they're outside of purview. They don't respond to the same manipulation, the same tactics, the same actual toxicity that you're very familiar with. You don't know, you don't have any pain points, you don't have any leverage, you don't have any way to get them out of pocket. They're not toxic. They're just a little more disciplined and say, okay, once you start playing a game, that's fine. And they'll just let you go. If and to the other point, when you think because they have this stability, then they automatically should be looking forward to start a family. They like as one of those men with a 9 to 5 job or jobs, right? We spend most of our time looking and observing the dating culture, the dating scene. And when you kind of live in that toxic behavior and you want to look and say that stability, you have this expectation that it's starting a family. But then when we look and see, but so many other people are starting families or at least having children and quote unquote starting families without any type of stability. So it looks like when you try to cross the other side of the tracks and you try to come over and deal with guys that are the corporate 9 to 5, you look out of place. When you try to manipulate them, when you try to use the same tactics that worked on other men that were fine, having babies without a plan, having children, running around, having multiple baby mamas, that doesn't really work well. So to you, when you don't get what you want, we have this tendency to just call it toxic when all it is that you finally heard a no. So before we let this play again, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new uploads. Still trying to do 2 a day. Sicky series continues. Uh, let's get into this one so we can break it down further.
Some of the most toxic men are not the like street dudes, the hood dudes. It don't be them. It be them dudes with them 9 to 5s, them corporate jobs, or just them dudes with career. It be them. Them be the most toxic ones because it's like they're kind of deceiving because you would think because of their position.
So again, like I was alluding to, when you hear no or you don't get your way, we have the propensity to say this person's toxic. When they don't engage in the same way you do, we hear them and call them toxic. No, it's you can't use this as a catch-all and then think it makes sense in other spaces. Especially people like, and we'll go with the convention that people with the 9 to 5s, they're not as street, they're not as hood, right? They have that ability to settle down. They take themselves out of that position, or they were never those type of people. So when you have this interaction between both sides, where he's like, no, that's not how I live my life. You screaming and yelling at a man and him screaming and yelling back at you is that struggle love that a lot of us have become accustomed to in the black community. We think, and not to be fair, I'm not saying this doesn't happen in other communities. I'm just saying what I most readily observe, what I most readily seen. I've had, had a woman in the past who, hits food out my hand and wanted me to hit her, right? And I was completely thrown off and confused by this. And everything shuts down at that point. Everything absolutely shuts down. But then later on, I'm hearing, no, she, I love you. And to me, it was incongruent. It didn't make any sense to me because that's not what I've known for love to actually look like. This is not to say that for some, when you have this trauma, when you have this traumatic behavior, that's not what it is for them. It's just when you now take that idea, right? You take that idea and you move it onto another area. People are like, no, that's not what it is for me. That's not how it happens. So it's hard to manipulate them, right? And then they tend to, if you move like that, they don't tend to look at you as really viable options for, you know, for motherhood, for being a wife, for being married. So if they're with you, yeah, I can get how it comes across as toxic because You're thinking this is a stable man. He should want stable things. So here I am in front of him. I'm not getting that stability. I'm not getting the promotion to wife. He's just playing with me. Unfortunately, that is a very real factor. You know, if you're in front of a man and you're attractive and you look good, he's going to say, put you in one or two categories. One is just for fun. If you're in that just for fun category where you have an expectation of something else, I get how that seems toxic. I get how that seems like, no, you were supposed to be the thing that changed everything. But unless we have these conversations up front, unless we have that like those very real things of saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want, is am I someone that you can potentially see that with? Am I that type of woman you see as that? And then even when you pose those questions eloquently, right, early, you still run the risk. He just might just lie to you. And this is not opposed to contradict everything she's saying. She very well may be correct. There may be men that have done the 9 to 5, are the corporate, and are absolutely toxic, absolutely toxic. They take advantage of that position and go down to, it's almost similar to how the women's complain about the passport bros, how they'll go to these third world countries and deal with these women, and it's a stark, it's a rough thing to say, but for some men that are well off enough in America, you are a third world woman, right? Some of us are third world options to people that are that wealthy, that are that so far removed from us. We're the third world in America. So if you leave it that, and it's just like an economics, it's an economic transaction, and he's just looking and saying, yeah, for me, you were never that thing. I get how that comes across and just seems toxic. Right? I get that. But outside of that, you know, uh, um, hyperbolic sort of example, if you're not used to dealing with men that are typically disciplined, and if you live in that sort of corporate 9 to 5 life, there's an assumption that there's an element of discipline in your life, that you know what you have to do to succeed in that sort of field, what it takes for you to get there in the first place. And that sort of permeates the rest of your life. So when you meet someone and he doesn't fall for the same things that you're used to, yeah, you can read it as toxic. And it's just him saying, no, these are my boundaries. You maybe have never met with a man that has firm boundaries or has discipline that says that, on Wednesdays I need to do this, on Fridays I need to do this, on Sunday. Like he's got non negotiables for his own life. They have nothing to do with you. Whether or not you're in his life or not in his life, he has to do those things. Those things are critical to who he is. And you come and say, no, but you should do this because that's what you're used to. It can come across as toxic when it's just, you just met a different caliber of men and you don't have any of the tools to properly, outside of attraction. Attraction is kind of universal. Outside of physical attraction, you have no way to sort of push and pull them, and that gets frustrating. So again, if you think I missed something, let me know down in the comments. If you see any videos on the screen, get ahead. If you're curious, tap in. Let me know what you think on those too. I'll see you guys in the next one.